I'm here on a beautiful day in April to review the latest episode of blah, 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 blah. It's been a little while since I've done this. I'm a little out of practice. What is up? Welcome back to another exciting Nintendo Power review. We are here on a beautiful day in April to review the March 1993 issue of Nintendo Power. This one is helmed by Tiny Toon Adventures, Buster Bust Loose. So, table of contents, we got some real cool stuff in this issue. We got Star Fox, we got Tiny Toon Adventures, Buster Bust Loose. What else do we have? We have Star Fox. We have Dragon Warrior 4. Alright, that's something I'm going to have fun talking about. And we've also got Star Fox. So let's get started. Player's Pulse, this month's letters section. Do we have anything of note in this month's letters section? Let's find out together. Here's a letter. It's from David A. Arnold from Nashville, Tennessee. So David A. Arnold, if you're out there, thank you for watching. I'm not going to be like snide with you like Nintendo Power would because they're jerks, but I'm a nice guy, so don't worry. David A. Arnold from Nashville, Tennessee says, "Hi, my name is David Arnold, and I confess that I'm addicted to Street Fighter 2. I used to play it for hours on end in the arcades, but now that it's available for the Super NES, what reason is there to go out?" Well, David, you can always get some sun. You know, get those D vitamins, those B vitamins. You can get a little sunburn on your face like I have currently. Now that Street Fighter 2 is available on the Super NES, what reason is there to go out? He asks. It's simply the best game ever. By the way, thanks for printing the secret code that lets you be the same character you're fighting against. Now to my question. I would like to know, in parentheses, I'm dying to know, is there a code that lets you play as one of the 4 end bosses? Is there one? That last sentence was a little odd, David, but, you know, this was a long time ago, so you're forgiven. Nintendo Power says, as far as we know, David, the answer is no, there's no such code. If there is such a thing, Capcom has it securely under wraps and they're not talking. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that there was not a code to play as the bosses in the original Street Fighter 2 because the entire point of Street Fighter 2 Turbo, which I believe they released about 6 months after this, like the whole selling point, the hook, if you will, the hook was that you could play as the 4 bosses for the first time ever, and that was a big deal to a lot of people. Now, me personally, I totally understand where David A. Arnold from Nashville, Tennessee is coming from, because I wasn't really a Street Fighter 2 guy as a kid, but I loved Mortal Kombat. And I remember when I used to play the original Mortal Kombat in grade school, I was constantly wishing that I could play as Goro. I guess Shang Tsung was kind of cool too, right? And now we have the main event of this issue, Star Fox. I love the way the Star Fox, the name is just kind of zooming in from the background. It's like, boom. You can almost hear the 80s retro sound effect coming in. There's like, boom. There's like a laser beam in the background. Like, let's see, we've got some cool stuff here. We got the FX R-Wing. For years and years, I thought it was Air-Wing. I feel like they kind of stole R-Wing from Star Wars. We got like the A-Wing, the X-Wing, the Y-Wing, the V-Wing.
What?
That all? Did I say A-Wing? Yes, A-Wing. So then you have Star Fox with the R-Wing. Definitely a Star Wars reference there. But yeah, like I said, for years, I thought it was Air-Wing. So Air-Wing makes more sense to me. You got these very thin wings. It looks like it kind of glides. But, you know, I think Air-Wing would have been a better name for them. But, you know, that's just me. So here we've got a very cool map. We've got 3 different paths you can take through Star Fox. One of them is easy, one of them is medium, one of them is hard. Now me personally, when I was a kid, I found the easy one hard enough, so I stuck to that one. I believe later on as an adult, I went back and I played through all 3, and it was fun, it was great. I definitely recommend playing all 3 routes through Star Fox if you really want to get the full Star Fox experience. Anyway, we've got this cool map of the very first level. It's like a 3-dimensional map too, so that's maybe a first for Nintendo Power, having a 3-dimensional map with a bunch of cool shapes and polygons and whatnot. So yeah, good stuff. It's worth noting that Star Fox will eternally remind me of Kellogg's, what was it? Cornflakes. Yes, Kellogg's Cornflakes, because they had a Star Fox special where there were certain boxes that would have Star Fox maps that would map out certain levels, tell you where the enemies were and stuff. And it was a cool promotion, so I ended up buying a few boxes of that just to look at Star Fox maps for a game that I didn't have on a system that I wouldn't have for another year and 3 months. So yeah, I did that. But like I said, I've talked about this before. I loved reading about games, looking at pictures of games, looking at maps. I loved all that stuff way before I even got into playing them. And look at that. The only level that Nintendo Power has in this issue is the very first level. That's weird. Normally they cover more than the first level. And they only devoted like 8 pages to this game. This is a huge game. I think it gets more coverage in a later issue, but yes, here we go. It says next month look for a detailed review of Star Fox. Okay, so the next issue is going to have a detailed look at the game. See, for a second there, I thought that this was just kind of a cynical ploy to get kids to go buy more Kellogg's Corn Flakes to get those maps, but it looks like they'll be covering it next month, so it's okay. But still go buy Kellogg's Corn Flakes because they're tasty. Give me money, Kellogg's. Give me money. Next we've got Super Strike Eagle for the Super NES. And in this game you play as fighter jets and you fly around. Then we've got Super Conflict, which isn't just planes, it's all kinds of vehicles. And this game is pretty cool until you realize that the whole game takes place on like hexagons, which it just doesn't look real at all. It looks like a computer simulation. So, oh, okay, here we go. Wayne's World. Wayne's World for the Super NES. It's excellent. I don't really know anything about Wayne's World. I just know that it had the T-1000 in it. This game falls prey to the same problem that so many of these Super NES games during this particular time frame, 1992, 1993, seem to fall prey to, and that is having level maps that are way, way, way too complex. Like, I'm gonna get a close-up of this. This first level is ridiculous. It's complete maze. I can't imagine playing this. I would get lost. Just, ridiculous. But Nintendo Power, as usual, they can polish any turd. Now, I'm not saying that this game is a turd. I have no idea. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But Nintendo Power can polish any turd. And they take these ridiculous level maps that look completely unplayable, and they surround them with pictures of Wayne and Garth saying cool stuff. And like quotes from the movie, and here's Wayne saying "schwing," and it's like awesome. This is kind of funny. You have stage 2, the donut shop, and stage 3, the gas works. Wayne says the gas works is infested with clones of Stacy, my totally mental ex-girlfriend. And wait, no, that was more of a Garth impression. Wayne says. Gasworks is infested with clones of Stacy, my totally mental ex-girlfriend. And then Garth is like, yeah, and who cut the cheese? Oh, the villain of the game is apparently the gelatinous cube. I don't know if that's a reference to something from the movie or like what the deal is there. I don't know. I'm picturing like this giant, cube, like this blob kind of thing. It's probably voiced by Norm Macdonald and it's just like bouncing around. Now we've got Tiny Toon Adventures. Buster Bust Loose, the title game for the issue. I don't know too much about Tiny Toons. I don't know a whole lot about Looney Tunes in general. I know the characters though. I like Daffy Duck. I like the Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote. I like Bugs Bunny. What? Elmer Fudd. What? The guy with the guns. He's like an NRA spokesman now. He had the hat. He's just like. Burr, 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 burr. I can't remember his name. Wayne LaPierre. What? Stage 1 is Acme Luniversity. It's like basically Hogwarts for cartoon characters. You run through, you collect power-ups, stuff happens. I have to give them props for having the first level not be a grassland or a field or like a plain. Every game from this era, the first level was like the plains level. Second level is the Western movie. It puts you on the set of Blazing Saddles starring Gene Wilder. Very cool. Blazing Saddles, actually one of my favorite movies ever. I love that movie to death. It's actually illegal to watch Blazing Saddles now because it's so offensive. And now we've got Stage 3, Spook Mansion. There's a lot going on in Spook Mansion. Then we've got Stage 4, Acme University Football. Stuff happens. There's football. Then we've got Buster Skyjinks, the sky level. Man, this game got the poster for this issue. We've got Space Opera. I really don't have a whole lot to say about this particular game. Kind of let it speak for itself. This month's poster, I don't know if you can see this okay, Tasmania, coming soon to your Super NES. Taz is being chased by a bunch of guys with nets. There's an alligator there. He's like, tag 'em and bag 'em, boys. Tag 'em and bag 'em. I hope Taz can escape. I hope he doesn't get tagged and bagged. I'll end up being an announcer on SmackDown. Now we have King Arthur's World. Arthur seeks a few good men in bed. So in this game you have the Royal Army. You've got the King, the Knights, the Archers, Black Wizards, White Wizards, Soldiers, Barrelmen, and Engineers. I like this game. I've never played it. I have no idea what it is, but it looks interesting. You have classes. Any game with multiple classes is good. Now, looking at this for the cursory 5 seconds, I can tell you that this looks like kind of a Lemmings type game where you're commanding different troops as they move through certain environments, and they have to contend with obstacles and foes. They have to work together to surmount those obstacles and foes. So King Arthur's World looks like an interesting game. I actually had someone tell me the other day that I was talking too slowly in my Nintendo Power reviews. It might be too fast now. I might be overdoing it. We're going to find out. These reviews are a work in progress. Just want to note that. I am doing my best with them. They're a lot of fun to make, but they are a work in progress. So any suggestions? You want to tell me what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, what's wrong with my face? How you don't like any of this? You don't like this great big honker, this great big honker that I have on my face, this gigantic nose? You don't like that? Let me know in the comments section below. This month's classified information: Pac-Man for Game Boy. There's a code here where you can switch to full screen mode. Now you might know that the Game Boy screen was already very small. It was like this big back in the day. So Pac-Man for the Game Boy only took up a portion of the screen, and you couldn't even see the whole map. You could only see like, maybe 2/3 of the map at a time as you moved around. So there's a code here that will let you see the entire map. The problem is that everything will be smaller. So it'll be like zoomed out, but you'll be able to see the whole thing, and it'll be full screen. I don't know why this is a code. I don't know why they didn't just have that as an option right from the get-go. That's kind of weird. But either way, we've got this month's Star Fox comic. I've mentioned before that I'm not really going to be covering the comics too much because I want to do reviews of the comics later. Oh, look at that, Slippy. Slippy bursts out of some kind of formaldehyde pod. I don't really know what was happening there. And apparently he was taking a bath, and he saves everyone. So look at that, Slippy actually saves everyone. This is the only time that ever happened. It does not happen in the games at all. I promise, if I get that far, I will review the Star Fox comics in depth, and it will be fun. Now we've got Adventure Island 2 for the Game Boy. This is called Aliens in Paradise, and it's basically your typical Adventure Island game. You collect weapons. They're all hammers and boomerangs. You can jump on the backs of dinosaurs and Yoshi your way through the levels. It's a fun time. And there are 8 worlds, and each one has its own boss. And I like that they emphasize the bosses in this coverage. I love that about Nintendo Power, because I am a boss enthusiast. So right here we have the Bad Butterfly, the Skeletal Dragon, the Crab Creep, and the final boss is a UFO. So yeah, cool stuff. I also like that the boss screens all have a black background. Kind of gives them that certain recognizable quality. Like you see those black screens, you're like, oh, there's a boss fight. Milon's Secret Castle was this game that I never got to play. Didn't know anything about it. But first of all, it's called Milon's Secret Castle. So as soon as I saw the name, I'm like, Milon, is that like a reference to Final Fantasy IV? And then look at this, Castle Garland. The whole game takes place in Castle Garland. So you play as Milon in Castle Garland. It's almost like it's a spin-off game from the Final Fantasy series. All right, we've got Krusty's Funhouse, starring Bart Simpson. He's got a mallet, watch out for him. Now we've got Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back for the Game Boy. This looks more like NES Empire Strikes Back than Super NES Empire Strikes Back. That's not a good thing. In Counselor's Corner, we have Super Star Wars for the Super NES. We've got a couple bosses here. Man, we are swimming in bosses in this month's issue. Just absolutely swimming in bosses. We've got the Hover Combat Carrier. We've got Jowenko, the Lava Beast. Jowenko was actually one of my favorite bosses in the actual Star Wars movie. I loved the part where they all fought Jowenko We've also got Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Some questions. Captain Mac, Falls Basin. Get to the ship. Get to the chopper. Next we've got Alien 3 for the NES. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. So we have that iconic shot of Ripley with the fuzzy head, much like myself. It's worth noting that every single Alien 3 video game that came out during this time frame had her running around fighting lots of aliens. Now, if you've seen the movie Alien 3, you know that there's just one alien in that movie. And yet, all these games, she's running around with a flamethrower and a machine gun, which I don't think she had in Alien 3. If you're gonna make a game like that, why not just call it Aliens? Because then it's actually accurate. She's running around, she's blasting things with a flamethrower, she's fighting the queen. Instead, just constant Alien 3 games. They all take place in a prison, so they have the right setting. They just have her using the weapons from Aliens, fighting the enemies from Aliens. So this looks just like the Super NES version. It's just a complete maze. One look at it, and I'm just noping right out of here. Too much. Yeah. I don't think enough RPGs got onto the cover of NP, so I think they should have given the cover to this game. And I don't think enough RPGs got onto the cover of NP, so I think they should have given the cover to this game, Dragon Warrior 4. Good stuff. We got the world map. You know, it's one of my favorite NES games. Actually, you know what? If I had to come down, like, boom, one favorite NES game, it would be this one, Dragon Warrior 4. Yeah, my favorite NES game. I said it. Best game on the system. So yeah, this is an RPG. It takes place in 5 chapters. There are 4 chapters where you get to know each of the groups of characters, and then at the 5th chapter, they all combine, and you have the super team, if you will. Okay, so Dragon Warrior 4, we've got a nice little rundown of the 4 chapters here. You got the Royal Soldiers, which, the Ragnar chapter just gets you used to the game. There's not a whole lot to it, you just run around and fight things. Good stuff. You got Alina's Adventure, where she's running around monking, punching going on, punching from Alina. She wears a kind of a weird purple hat with a point on it. It's got a little point, but it's neither here nor there, and I'm not going to judge, because she'll probably kick my ass. Chapter 3, the arms merchant Talon, proud member of the military-industrial complex and a notorious philanderer. Let's just say Talon's had his share of lady friends over the years. His poor wife, Sisters of Manbaraba. In this one you play as 2 exquisitely beautiful sisters as they battle the nefarious Balzac. That's really his name. And then finally, Chapter 5, you have the Chosen Ones. In this one, all the characters unite. They assemble. Like the Avengers. And you fight Necrosaro. I might try to get a close-up of Necrosaro here. Or Necrosaro. Might be the correct pronunciation. Hoping for a little more out of this coverage. It only got a few pages, but it's okay. They would get better at covering RPGs later in time. So now, top 20. Let's see. Number 1 for the Super NES, Street Fighter 2. That might actually be a pretty solid portent of who's going to win the Nestor. Game Boy, Super Mario Land 2, no surprise there. And on top of the NES charts, Tecmo Super Bowl. Wow. Has overtaken Mario Bros. 3. That is shocking. And here we've got Metroid 2 Return of Samus. I swear, half the time when they have a screenshot of Metroid 2 in these top 20 charts, it's always her standing next to the ship. And it's like, come on guys, get a shot of something else from the game. And now playing in the interesting reviews this month, we have Ultimate Fighter for the Super NES, the first ever UFC game. It existed before the UFC existed, actually. It's guys fighting, they fight, they do martial arts, a lot of punching and kicking. There's some biting, so for those of you who prefer to do your fighting by biting, there's biting in that game. We have Lethal Weapon for the NES, Be Still My Heart. I know what I want for Christmas. It says, Riggs and Murtaugh are back on the street stopping criminals any which way they can. Usually that means shooting them. But when they run out of bullets, they aren't above using their fists and feet. Who needs due process? It's a lethal weapon for the frickin' NES. Who needs due process? Although this is a one-player game, you can use either of the LAPD's, of course, most mismatched partners. Dragon Warrior 4 got some good reviews. 4 megabits, that's big for an NES game. Explains how it takes place in 5 chapters. It says you got a huge world to explore, multiple characters. Minuses, though, this is a little weird. It says the graphics are not as high quality as previous Dragon Warrior games. Are they sure about that? Because I don't know. It's been a while, but I remember that each one had like slightly better graphics than the one before it. Terminator for the NES, which I presume they covered in the previous issue. Let's see what we've got for this one. It says, this action game is based on the original Terminator film in which time travel is used to prevent unwanted events in the future. It just basically sums up the plot, we all know. It says, although the missions are based on the movie, little else of the game will remind you of the film. The game may be about saving the world, but you'll wish you'd saved your money. Wow. And now we have Nintendo. Oh my god. Nintendo teams up with Kellogg's. I was just kidding when I said that maybe the reason that they only covered the first level of Star Fox was because of the Kellogg's promotion, where Kellogg's had all those, packed in maps of Star Fox levels in the cereal boxes. That maybe Nintendo Power was looking out for Kellogg's bottom line. They had a little deal, a little under the table kind of, little greasing of the palms, I was kidding. And now I'm looking at this and I'm not so sure now. Look at this. Get proofs of purchase. You can get different Nintendo things, Game Boy discounts, Game Boy game discounts. I'm speechless. So Nintendo and Kellogg's actually teamed up to form an axis of just profit making. Jeez. It's like everything I grew up thinking was a lie. Nintendo Bar. Shame on you. Shame on you for not covering more than the first level of Star Fox. This was a brand new game. A lot of kids were really excited about it. They needed maps for more than the first level. Okay, you go through the first level. What do you do then? Then you're just sitting there and you're holding control. You don't know what's going on. You're flying the R-Wing, the R-Wing. You're flying into obstacles. You're getting hit by meteors. You don't know what the hell's going on. And you know who isn't there for those kids? Nintendo Power. Nintendo Power wasn't there for those kids while those meteors crashed into their air wings. Okay? And that's what they are. They're air wings. So Nintendo Power, you should be ashamed. You should be ashamed of yourself. Unbelievable. Teaming up with Kellogg's. I will not send in my proof of purchase. And that is volume 46 of Nintendo Power. Tiny Toon Adventures, Busta Bust Loose with Super NES. And on the back we've got the brand new Super FX chip featuring Star Fox, or as shown on Star Fox, the brand new Super FX chip. The cutting edge. What does it say? It says, it's the difference between looking at a picture and being there. It takes the Super NES beyond anything you ever imagined. To new realism. What? To new dimensions. What? And Super FX technology is easy to get into because it's built in. No accessories. What? No upgrades. What? Star Fox will be your first look at this amazing step forward in technology, value, and fun. It's just the beginning. Also, I want to note, while I've got you here, that I'm moving my uploads to Fridays, my review uploads, Nintendo Power reviews. I'm still going to upload other things, random videos I take of other things throughout the week. Sunday uploads, they were working okay for me, but just logically speaking, it's not the best time to upload. Sunday evening through like Friday morning is pretty much the worst time to upload. There's probably half as many people on YouTube during Monday through Friday. Monday through Thursday, and Sunday night is also a very low traffic time. So putting an episode up on like Sunday evening is basically you're going into the lull in traffic for the entire week. So it just makes more sense for me to put an episode up on Friday morning, maybe Friday afternoon, and kind of catch the wave of that Friday evening traffic, the surge of Friday evening traffic. Going into Saturday, you have that surge of Saturday traffic, huge spike of viewership on Saturday, and Sunday as well. Viewership continues. That spike keeps going, and then it kind of goes down, dips. So you want to ride that wave. You want to crest the wave. Friday, boom, you're cresting the wave. Saturday and Sunday, crest the wave. So that's my goal. My goal is to crest the wave. So every Friday, tune in. Hopefully by Friday afternoon, I will have a new Nintendo Power review up for you. And on that note, I bid you good night and good luck.